Spoilers for chapter 1153 of One Piece. Loki, right after popping out, alright, coming into this world, newborn with like a couple of strands of hair, 2 horns, weird ass eyes. Bro climbed a mountain from the dead realm all the way up to the normal realm, alright? By himself. His fingers. I don't know, babies can't even drink water. And this bro was doing this, alright? This is Brook at 1,000 years old, bro. This is Jinbei after serving on God knows how many Yonko crews. Most of all, this is Kid, alright? One of the most broken devil fruits out there against Shanks, alright? I don't even know what to say. Sure, is it unfair to compare a literal ancient giant to some of the normal human people in the verse? Yes, I think it is. But we're talking baby level, bro. You're telling me a baby ancient giant is stronger than this many people? You might say this isn't like a feat. Bro, he's a kid. A baby. He's a newborn. And he's scaling up a big ass tree. Alright? Well, some people can't even... Oh my days, bro. I want to see Kid do this. I want to see Kid do this with both his arms. I bet you he wouldn't be able to.
Wait, do you have any gum?
What'd you say?
Sorry.
I'm all eyes. I mean ears. I mean.
In One Piece, Luffy and the other Straw Hats finally make it to the giant's country of Elbaf, and right off the bat, after breaking out of a mysterious fake miniature country inside of a giant's room, they wind up wandering around the bottom level of this country, which sits on different levels of a huge tree. During this time, it's almost like Luffy's adventure senses start tingling, as he says he heard a roar deep within the forest below them. However, everyone is too scared to go because there's giant wolves and other beasts lurking there. But since Luffy became the king of the beasts before the time skip, he doesn't really have anything to worry about as he heads into the wilderness in search of the vibe that he was feeling. It's at this point where Luffy wanders up to a massive giant who's been chained to one of these trees and lays there with one of his eyes bandaged and tattoos all over his body as the man says, "State your name," in a big bellowing voice. It's here where Luffy announces himself as Monkey D. Luffy, the man who'll become the king of the pirates, and in response he learns that this giant is the prince of the giants, Loki, who claims that he's the sun god that will bring about the destruction of the entire world. Now we're nearing the end of this story, and Oda has constantly teased a massive war coming that dwarfs anything we've seen so far, and knowing Norse mythology, the odds are that Luffy is going to somehow be responsible for Loki getting freed from these chains. However, what happens when this beast, who is said to have a legendary devil fruit of his own, is actually stronger than Gear 5th?
Did you know Loki is one of the strongest giants in the One Piece world? His power rivals that of a Yonko? When Loki meets Luffy, it sparks an epic clash between two sun gods. Will they start as enemies and become allies? Stay tuned to find out. Subscribe and follow us for more.
Happy is the perfect word to describe.
Loki is confirmed to have a devil fruit. He was restrained with sea stone chains. But what kind of fruit does a giant prince wield? Here's the theory: a mythical zone tied to shapeshifting. In Norse lore, Loki's entire identity is transformation. He morphs into beasts, people, even tricked gods. So imagine a power that lets him bend form at will, vanish in battle, confuse enemies, become something massive or terrifying. If he ever teams up with Luffy, shapeshifting might be the key to getting him onto the Sunny. No need to rebuild the Sunny, he just transforms. What do you think his power really is?
The Straw Hat crew may gain 2 rulers. When Luffy officially invites Loki to join the Straw Hat crew, the good news is all 10 crewmates are finally assembled, but the bad news is Zoro's position as vice captain might be lost. In the latest manga chapter, Luffy has decided to make Loki a crewmate. First, this powerful character's strength is undeniable. His feats speak for themselves. He possesses the strongest single-target attack power, with combat prowess at least at the Yonko level. 6 years ago, Loki's bounty already reached a terrifying 2.6 billion berries. This shows how grave a threat the Gorosei considered him. Even Shanks needed to ally with all giants to subdue him. Just the force of Loki's single hammer strike, how many in the New World could confidently block it? And this was merely a weakened state blow. Perhaps Luffy witnessed Loki's astonishing combat power, and his personality that meshes well with his own, thus deciding to invite him aboard. The Straw Hat crew still lacks a giant crewmate, and the ship needs a lookout. Loki's massive frame suits this role perfectly. Tall stature grants long vision. However, Loki's combat strength rivals Luffy's. After boarding, he directly displaces Zoro as the second in command. No wonder Zoro and Sanji aren't welcoming this new crewmate, but Loki's addition is undoubtedly beneficial. At least when battling the Blackbeard pirates, matchups won't be a concern. Luffy will fight Blackbeard, Zoro faces Shiryu, while Loki's opponent will likely be Kuzan. Disregarding their height difference, Loki and Kuzan's strength is relatively comparable. It would surely be the most suspenseful showdown. Having Sanji fight Kuzan alone would be too forced. Additionally, fans remain puzzled by another issue. The Sunny's length is only 39 meters, while Loki stands at least 60 meters tall. Setting aside where he'll sleep, or whether food supplies suffice, can the Sunny even support his weight? Unless Loki becomes a beast of burden, pulling the Straw Hats through future adventures? Actually, the owl in the library could resolve this boarding dilemma. His Hiku Hiku no Mi can enlarge any object within his line of sight. He could then triple the Sunny's size, allowing the Straw Hats to keep their ship while letting Loki move freely aboard.
それは断る。それはこの店で働かなきゃいけない理由があるんだ。何やだ。お前が断ることを俺は断る。お前はいいコップだから一緒に海賊はやらん。
Holy shit, guys! Loki is gonna join the Straw Hats! Alright, guys, we just got details for Chapter 1152 of One Piece, and Loki joining the crew might actually be the least insane thing we get during this week's chapter. The chapter is gonna begin with Gaban telling the monster trio that you need to use Conqueror's Haki to damage immortal enemies like the Holy Knights, and that he and Luffy know that Zoro, and not Sanji, can also use Conqueror's Haki. Herodian then says he's not gonna free Loki, so Luffy tries to tell him that Loki is joining his crew, which nobody else there was on board with. I don't even know how the fuck Loki would fit on the Sunny. He'd have to walk in the water behind it like San Juan Wolf. Gaben then tells everyone that he and Shanks were on Elbaf during the incident with Loki and King Harold, and we get a flashback to 14 years ago when Loki confronted King Harold for allying Elbaf with the world government, only to find his own men attacking him. Meanwhile, we see a younger Shanks talking to Gaban about how he wants to go see King Harold, and we learn that someone has stolen a legendary devil fruit. We then cut to yet another flashback, 109 years ago, and the chapter ends with us seeing a young King Harold rampaging in a human kingdom. And there's no break next week, so stay tuned for more and cope harder.
Giant feet even relative to the giant man's size, and you know what they say about that.
One can only wonder what's going down in the Rocky Mountains.